What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bluegrass State of Mind, the show where three college roommates talk life, sports, and all the ridiculous things that happen in an apartment we like to refer to as Room 302. We're bringing you stories, hot takes, and the kind of late-night debates that probably should have stayed in the group chat.
So grab your headphones, sit back, and get ready for a wild ride through our past college life, sports, and everything in between. Let's get into it. This is Bluegrass State of Mind.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. Mason, wow, what a game. What a game. And what we already talked about, that's what this entire episode is going to be about tonight. We're looking forward to getting into it. Before we get into it, though, for the ones who are listening via audio and not watching it on our YouTube or Spotify, hop on there real quick. If you've not seen the merchandise that's come out, I'm repping it tonight. Mine came in. The sweatshirt looked good. It feels great. Everything about it. The hats, obviously, we wear the hats about every night. We'll switch it up here and there with other Kentucky stuff. But if you want any of the Bluegrass State of Mind merchandise, please reach out. We'll be placing an order probably in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I mean, if you want to rep the merch, please let us know. Oh, Mason, I don't have my Tennessee Rocky Top song tonight. I thought about topping it up, but I wanted a Rocky Top. Tennessee. Man.
Get him out of here again.
I know. Get him out of here. All right, so let's get into it. So this past Saturday on February 7th was a big game. Kentucky pulls off one of its grittiest wins of the season against a hot Tennessee team and wins 74-71, coming back from a 14-point halftime deficit and outscoring Tennessee 41-24 in the second half. The Wildcats locked up defensively, hit some big shots late. They closed the game out at the free throw line, at least Denzel Aberdeen did, and just made a complete comeback to secure the season. Get your brooms out. Yeah, get your brooms out. A complete sweep of the regular season against the Tennessee Volunteers. Let's kind of break down the first half here, Mason. The first half, Tennessee and Kentucky both came out very strong, put a lot of points up really quick. Both teams were, I think, efficient within the first 4 minutes at very high. You know, both offensive and defensively, they was making some tough shots, providing what the defense gives them. However, though, Tennessee started to, about after the 4-minute mark, started to separate themselves, especially their star player that Kentucky looked at and was trying to recruit, Nate Ament, had one of his better games of the season. He's been hot. I think, did you see the stat? He was averaging like 24 and a half or something like points per game in the last like 4 games maybe.
Yeah, last 2 games. I mean, I think he scored 28, 29 in his last 2 games.
That's right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
but
so he's averaging almost 30 over his last 2 games. I know that.
Yeah, he's balling right now. He had 19 first half points, knocking down 4 threes, and he was 4 for 6. I felt like he was hitting everything, which he was compared to the last game. Vols shot very efficient. They built a 47-33 halftime lead, which was the 14-point deficit that Kentucky had to come over at halftime. And honestly, Kentucky, they just kind of looked out of rhythm after that 4-minute period. So, Mason, after hearing the breakdown, what was kind of like, just talk us through, like, what was some immediate thoughts right away that you were thinking, like the defense breaking down, what was going wrong you think, looking at it now and watching it live?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we started out well, and then I think Tennessee really, Nate Ament came out, he played really well. There was a couple times, that Oweh was on him, and Oweh had great defense. I mean, right up on him, hands in his face, but Nate Ament's just so much bigger than him, rose right over top of him, was able to knock down some shots. Like you said, they shot it really, really well in the first half. They were 53% from 3 in the first half. Like you said, they were 8 for 15 from 3. I think we just kind of weathered their storm, right? I kind of was sitting there saying to myself, like, there's no way they can keep shooting like this, right? If we can just weather the storm, keep it within about 10 to 12, we're going to have a chance in the second half to be able to try to claw our way back into it and, at least have a fighting chance in the second half. does it not always seem like teams just do this against us, like, every time? Like, did you hear that stat they said about Jacoby Gillespie?
On the
So
catch and shoot, or
no,
because
on his threes, something about, like,
uh-uh.
against us, he was, I don't know, 3 for 4 the first game or whatever, in between, and then he came out and he hit his first 2, so he was 2 for 2 to
Yeah, and they
start
were
this
deep.
game, and in between when he played us the last time and then this time, he was 1 for 16 from 3,
Is
and
it
then he
do
comes out
you
and immediately knocks down 2.
do you think the Rupp curse, it's not a curse, I guess, but, like, do you think that teams, for one, play better because of they're playing Kentucky and they're playing
Absolutely.
in Rupp?
Absolutely.
Because honestly, Rupp, I've never played there. Have you ever played at Rupp?
Nope,
I would
unfortunately
have
not.
loved to have in high school, but
Me too.
it seems like opposing teams shoot the ball majority of the time very well there. And I don't know necessarily like a shooter's gym. For me, when I was playing, like I always liked having a wall like that. To me, looked good. So it's
Mhm.
kind of the total opposite with any kind of college atmosphere, which I guess you get used to, and it's different because you're not going to find a wall in
Right.
college basketball. It's going to be a big arena. But for me, looking back at this game in the first half, something that I sort of was questioning was, as a coach, I would think whenever I was coaching, when a guy, especially like Nate Ament, gets hot after he knocks down back to back threes, I feel like I'm telling my guys, "Hey, let's like stay on the hip of him, like no matter what." And his next two threes were corner wide open threes, and I mean they
Mhm.
weren't wide open, but they were enough
Good looks.
space, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were great looks, especially if you're hot. Because once you see those first two go down, it's
Yep.
kind of like okay, it turns into an ocean, and that's kind of what he was doing. And then when he was able, he's such a I think he's 6'10", I think is that what he
Mhm.
is.
Yeah.
So he's able to get in the paint, and his short game is typically what I think is his best part of his game. He reminds me of AJ DeBunsa a little bit on his mid range, but it seems like we wasn't giving him enough. I guess we wasn't guarding him efficient enough that I would think that okay, we got to lock him up. Make these guys make tougher shots. Don't leave a guy who's averaging 24 points get hot because ultimately that was going to hurt us had he had a huge second half as well. Because I mean, he had a decent second half, but not a
Yeah.
as good as his first half. But going into the second half, so that was kind of like the first half story. The second half was complete 180. It flipped the script. And are we ever going like? Are you used to it by now? I'm still not. Like I still I don't know. I'm so in the air with it still. Are you used to it by now though?
Yes. I mean, at this point, like m- before, like before this season, I'd be stressed and be like, "Oh man, we're down double digits. Like it's gonna be really tough." And now I'm just like, "All right, we're gonna go on a run at some point in the second half. We're gonna cut it down to 5, 6, 4 points, whatever it is. We're gonna give ourselves a chance."
But at some point though, Mason, you would think though, and it may be later that this happens, that we are going to feel this way because we are there. And we're going to
Mhm.
match up against a team who keeps the gas to the pedal or keeps the pedal to the gas. Like
We got one
it's
coming
not
up.
going to let up. Yeah, Florida for sure at Florida.
Yeah.
It could be difficult, but so second half, Kentucky, our defense, we tighten up dramatically, holding them to only 6 made field goals in the second half, which that stat blows my mind. They were
Yep.
well, let me have it right here. What is it?
6 for
6
30.
for 30. They were
Yeah.
20% in the second half. 6 for 30. They only took 6 threes the second half,
Yeah.
which to me tells you enough. Like we tightened up our defense. We was forcing tougher shots, limited the second chances, had a couple of shot clocks that we was able to give them. We ended up, like I said, we outscored them 41-24 after the break, and just the momentum flipped. So to me, though, I look back and you think, okay, we were down 17 at Tennessee. For us to make that comeback, I think that was luck. Like I think we played well, but it was a little bit of luck. We had a lot of things go right that we needed to go right. I didn't feel that way against them the other night. I didn't think it was luck. Did you? I thought it was more of adjustments and toughness.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, I was looking back through some of the stats, and I think it's really impressive that we won this game. Like you said, the second half defense is what really stood out. But we didn't shoot the ball great either. Like we we were 5 for 19 from three. We only hit 5 threes in the game. They
That's not
out
even the free throw
rebounded
line
us.
either.
Right, they out rebounded us by 15 in the game, and we still like this team just finds a way to win. Like they lock down on the defensive end and they find a way to win. It happens almost every game. You know, we talked about earlier in the season like we would have these stretches where we couldn't score, but it's almost like now we're holding these other teams to stretches where they're not scoring field goals.
And the stretches that they're having is coming in the second half to ours the
Yeah.
first half, which if you're going to pick and choose, you would want it probably to be the first half because the second half is kind of where you win the game. I mean, you ultimately can win a game in the first half sometimes depending on your opponent, but most of the time you've got to come out that second half, and that's
Yeah.
where you're going to win the game. Speaking of, we didn't shoot the ball. I mean, we shot free throws. We were 13 for 22 at only 59.1%. We've got to fix that because you just can't do that.
Yeah.
You cannot win big time games most of the time and shoot it like that from the free throw line and the 3-point line, like you said. But, talk about some clutch moments. Let's talk about just the guy himself, Colin Chandler. Man, talk about just being clutch in the biggest moments. So let me give you a little stat here. So you in the last 8 games, I guess. Let's just look at that. 9 games. He threw the touchdown pass to Marino. Okay,
Yep.
even though Marino did hit the shot, it was his pass.
Yep.
He had the steal and the assist when we went and played Tennessee earlier in January. He had the clutch 3-pointer versus Ole Miss. Then he hits the dagger fadeaway against Arkansas to pretty much seal the win there when we had to have a bucket to go up 5 or 6. And then he hits the go-ahead 3 against Tennessee. He did end up missing the free throw line after I was like, I literally sent a text to you all, and I was like, find a way to get it to Colin Chandler. Like, do not let it be in Marino's hands. Do not let it be in Oweh's hands. Or Aberdeen's fine, but just get it to Chandler. He's 90%. And of course, the guy's the announcer. It's their announcer jinx. It's 90%, and he gets up there and misses it. Luckily, we have Diabate who gets that. But in the second half, though, it just felt like we were more who we were the past 7 games. We were able to attack offensively inside and dish out. Talk about, though, Otega Owe. I mean, the man, I think at this point, Mason, if we can find a way to win the SEC outright or even have a share of it, he could win the SEC Player of the Year. Like, I mean, he is definitely and just looking back at the beginning of the season, we were all like, where is he? And I know Colton's not on here tonight, but if he is listening to it, me and you was very adamant, like he could be like the star, and he is the star. Now, we've said it over and over. He's not the type to wow you with. Yeah, go ahead. I've talked enough. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, like he's not the type of guy that you see like they're talking about Darren Peterson right now, right? Like he's not a number 1 overall pick. He's not that kind of superstar. All right, he's not going to go top 5 in the draft. That's not who he is. But he understands his game, and he knows how to get to his spots, and he knows how to score whenever he needs to score, and that's what makes him so good. And yes, I mean, I feel like he does try to force things sometimes, but I feel like he's also got better about like understanding that when he's getting downhill, guys are starting to collapse on him. Like that pass he made at the end of the game there to Colin Chandler. I mean, what a great pass. And he's just, I feel like he's taking leaps and bounds. I know he was good at the end of the year last year and started off the season slow this year, but I feel like he's just taking leaps and bounds with his game and being able to find his spots and understand the ways that he can be most efficient.
When you look at it, though, he's not going to be an NBA player, and if he is, I don't foresee him making it in the league. But he is one of those guys that you think about that has a huge impact in college basketball because he understands his role. And look, just talking about the past you mentioned there, like you look back, and at the beginning of the season, that may have been a time where he tries to be the hero.
Yeah.
And the more that we're watching Owe, the more that we're seeing a lot more trust, and not only him, but also Denzel Aberdeen. And I think it starts with them too. We win because of our guard play. Whenever you see these leaders, the 2 senior, is Denzel Aberdeen, he's senior? Yeah, he's a senior, isn't he? Yeah, you see the 2 seniors who are sharing the ball and not trying to be the hero and trusting teammates. It goes a long ways. And I don't know if you had heard Mark Pope's remarks about what he said to Chandler. Did you hear what he said about that whenever he
Uh,
hit that shot? Oh, he came in there and he said that in his press conference, Pope had said that Oweh looked like grabbed him, looked him right, and was like, "You are a
oh,
bad mother." And
bad.
he said he said he used some other words, but I think for
Yeah.
anyone listening could probably fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And I
it's
heard
just
Oweh talking
awesome to
about it. I
see.
didn't hear Pope, but I heard Oweh mention like talking about it. It's pretty cool though. It shows that they do have trust and like this team's finally come together. We talked about at the beginning of the season, like there might have been some internal things going on with this team and they didn't look like they liked each other. And now it looks like they're actually having fun, right? Like they enjoy being around each other and they're having a good time and they're cutting up and so it's good to see the growth of this team from the beginning of the season to now for sure.
And a lot of that, though, Mason, a lot of that just comes down to simply winning. When you win,
Yeah,
it fixes so many different little
absolutely.
things and those little things become big things when you don't win. And all you have to, if you just get in the win column, it just seems to fix and work itself out. And that's the beautiful thing about sports and the camaraderie of this team. It's able to allow them to have that trust, to loosen up, to make shots because they're not feeling the pressure of like, if I don't hit this, what is fans going to think? What is my coach going to think? What are my players going to think?
Yeah.
And that you can see it. We're able to witness it right now, and this team is really gelling right now. But talk about some stats. So Malachi Moreno had 10 points, finished with 5 rebounds. We'll take away 21 points, 4 rebounds. Denzel Aberdeen, 16 points. You had Colin Chandler, 9 points, and then Brandon Garrison, 4 points. Muhammad Devate, 4 points. Jasper Johnson, 4 points. And even those guys like your Mo Devate. Mo Devate didn't fill it up with the stat sheet, but what are you like for Mark Pope, for him to move him row? I mean, keep in mind, this was a guy that we thought was going to come in, be a starter, be kind of like the guy that's going to be the guy that you just got to have on a roster to
Mhm.
be successful. And now he finds himself coming off the bench. What does that say about him? Because, early in the conversations or earlier in the year, those conversations were he is toxic.
Yep.
You can see it. He's tearing up players. But maybe we, and not just saying me and you, but maybe BBM, maybe we judged a little bit too soon. Maybe he was saying things that need to be said. Like, because sometimes you have those leaders who are saying things and people are reading into it too much. What are your thoughts on that? Like a guy, and then I'll let you talk. A guy that I think of is maybe like Draymond Green. Now, he is a little bit much, but,
Yeah.
he's not afraid to get into guys.
Right. And I'll say this, like me and you playing competitively, playing at the college level, like you have competitors out there on the floor. I probably said stuff during the game that I didn't mean at times, right? Just because, the juices are flowing, you're fired up, you're mad about something that happened, and it's like, dude, pick it up, fix this, blah, blah, blah. But then after the game, you go right back to being brothers and you work it out. Like, hey, we figured it out. It's all good. So I think a lot of that just comes from him specifically being so much of a competitor. Like, you see his fire, you see how hard he plays, you see how he wants to go get every loose ball, every rebound. That's just the type of player he is. And like you said, I mean, for him to be able to keep this same energy and coming off the bench now. I mean, he's going after every rebound, every loose ball. He's that type of guy you have to have, like you said, right? He's the guy who does the dirty work. And that rebound he had there at the end of the game, who knows? That might have saved the game for us. He gets
Well,
that offensive rebound.
exactly. He makes winning plays. Like that.
It,
That's a winning play right there.
yeah,
Because, like you said, if we don't get that, we're only up one. And then there we are. Like, okay, what now? Like
yeah,
they have a chance to come and win the game. And that's something that looking back now was possibly, other than Colin Chandler's 3, the play of the game. The
yeah.
little things, the little details, they matter so much. Uh, as far as though the game itself in the second half, I'm so curious. What is Mark Pope saying at halftime? Like, what would you imagine that he's telling his guys? Like, you've obviously heard him say in press conferences now that, he's not as worried as he once was because this is who we are. I mean, truly, this is an identity that we have, is that we are a second half team.
Yeah.
Buckle up And the opposing team should already know that if they don't know that by now. But what do you think
Yeah.
he's telling these guys at halftime?
I mean, I don't know, but whatever he's saying, keep saying it because
Keep
it's
doing it.
working. But I mean, I think he's probably just coming in at halftime, just saying, "Hey, we've been here before, right? This game's not over. Let's come away. We're not going to get it all back in one possession. Let's go out here. Let's play hard on the defensive end. That's going to lead to us getting makes on the offensive end, make a little run. Basketball's. I was always told basketball's a game of runs, right? So let's try to chip away. One of my coaches used to say, if we're down at halftime or at a quarter, let's try to get it down to 8 by the under 16 timeout, right? Let's set some goals for ourselves and see if we can just slowly start chipping away and then just claw our way back in this game. But I think it's just the overall of, play hard, go out there, play hard, rebound the ball, let's get out in transition, and let's try to claw our way back in this game. But whatever he's saying, keep doing it. Maybe try it before the game. I don't know.
I'm going to go ahead and move us into our next segment here. So, looking ahead now. Well, actually, before we look ahead, let's talk a little bit about the atmosphere. I think that game right there is Rupp Arena at its best. Being able to have the crowd into it from start to finish. It was, yes, obviously we were celebrating the denim. It was a great celebration of the 95-96 team. But man, I mean, to me, that is what being a Kentucky Wildcat is all about, and having the fan base around you, with you, for you, from start to finish. Like I mentioned, it was just something you could feel and see.
Yep.
What's he shooting there? What you said?
41%. He's hit 45 for 110.
Yeah, I mean, he's shooting at a high clip right now.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And whenever he gets hot, it opens up so much for the rest
Yes.
of the players. And I think
Yes.
that's whenever Oweh and Denzel Aberdeen really are able to do what they do best. But now let's talk a little bit about Denzel Aberdeen. Denzel Aberdeen is another guy. There's so many different guys that have had to step up and play roles that they were not supposed to be playing. I think it's just a testament of Mark Pope, his staff, and this team itself, because obviously, yes, we are doing this without Jalen Lowe and Jaden Quainitz, who we initially thought was going to be our best two players.
Yep.
I don't know if that's a testament more for Pope now or for the team itself. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's more probably to Pope of figuring out a way for these guys to fit into a system and how these guys can win together. And then it comes down to these guys buying in and believing that, right? But Pope getting them to buy in and believe it. And like you said, I mean, we got off to a very rocky start, but winning helps. You get a few wins under your belt, some confidence starts to build, guys start buying in a little bit more. But I think I said it on the last podcast, or I said it in our group message one, like, this is a heck of a coaching job by Pope. After the way this season was going, I mean, with who we have down and what we have available right now, and we have a chance to be first in the SEC after our game against Florida on Saturday. I mean, heck of a coaching job by Pope. I saw something earlier that at this point in the season, we had the exact same record we did last year. Exact same. We're just a lot better in SEC play. 17-7.
I didn't realize that. Well, that leads us right into what I was about to bring up. So coming up, we have, I guess, kind of like a bye we don't play midweek. We play Saturday.
Yep.
So going into this Saturday, we are playing for first place in the SEC. Now, we are going to be playing against a beast in Florida who is playing their best basketball right now. But we're currently sitting 8-3, and Florida is 8-2. So if we win, we would hold the head-to-head matchup at the moment, and then obviously we play them again later in the season. But this win means so much moving forward in SEC play. It puts us in a great spot to have a top 4 seed, which means the double bye. And that's a huge advantage, because then you are avoiding the bottom, or we are going to avoid the bottom half of the SEC bracket. We get some favorable matchups in the SEC tournament. And then you've said it before. We started this season. It's so hard to remember that just a few weeks ago, we were sitting 0-2 in
Yeah.
SEC play. 0-2. And we have won 8 of our last 9 games. Who would have ever thought? I wouldn't have. I mean,
I mean,
that and Mark Pope deserves all the credit in the world. I think we said it. We've said it multiple times. Mark Pope's going to be back next year, regardless if we had lost 8 of our last. Well, I don't know 8 of our last 9, but if we had won 4 of our last 9, he was going to come back. Like there, in no world do I think that he was not going to be back. But I think that this really lets us know, like, Mark Pope is a good coach. Is he a great coach? Yeah, he's close. Like I just we got to he's got to. When I think of great coach, it's not just coaching. It's all of it. It's the
yeah,
cow. Like when we talk about recruiting, being able to get
yeah.
some guys. We still don't have any recruits for next year. However, though, just alone for this season, I was listening. It may have been KSR. I don't know who it was, but they were talking about that something had come out in a grading of the coaches, and Mark Pope, at the time that I was listening to it, had received a grade of like a C minus or a D plus. Now I think
Hmm.
he's jumped up to like a A minus or an A.
Oh,
Like, I mean, to look back at the injuries that we've had, and then like we've not even talked about Cam Williams. He's out now too.
yeah,
So just an unbelievable coaching job itself. And, I think that we as a fan base need to acknowledge that, and we are right now. But
yeah,
for those maybe who are still iffy, I think it's time to like, okay, like he can do this. Like you see what he's done with so little. You know what I mean? Like and whenever they bring, well, what about the 22 million roster? I thought we supposed. Now we still aren't ranked. I think we should be and will be soon.
I
Um,
agree.
but man, I mean, just the flip of the script. What if you had to pick one thing? What is probably the most impressive thing from the 0-2 start in the SEC to now that Coach Pope has been able to change and figure out? Well, if you had to pick one thing, like what is something? I mean, there's a ton, but just I know I put you on the spot here, but what's something
Yeah,
that stands out? I guess for you.
I think one thing that stands out to me is that this has really shown me, and not to get into like the whole Cal thing, but I would always say that Cal was so one dimensional, right? Like he was so unwilling to change. He had one way of going about things, and that's what he always did. And
Yeah.
we look to start this season, and Pope tried to get these guys to play his offensive system, his scheme that he tries to run, and it just was not working. Right? Like we couldn't get anything going. We were getting beat down by Gonzaga, Michigan State, Louisville, all these guys. We started 0-2 in the SEC, and Pope realized that's not going to work with this team. We got to find a different identity, and I think he did a great job of kind of outlining that to this team. All right, look, we're just going to have to win it on the defensive end of the floor. That's going to have to turn into our opportunities on the offensive end. So I think for me, that's something that has stood out to me tremendously. Is just his ability to be able to sit back and look at things and say, okay, this isn't working. Let's try something else. And that makes me feel good going forward. And like you said, I think the one question mark that's still there is recruiting moving forward. But just his willingness and his ability to change things and not be scared to try something different. I mean, if it's not working, you got to try something different. So,
Hmm. Well, I think, and that's a really good one. I think for me, looking back at November, I think did we play Louisville in November or December?
yeah, November.
Was it? It
November
was in
11th.
November. Okay. So, the whole locker room incident comes out.
Hmm.
Everybody's questioning, like, what happened? What is it? Like, and then we proceed to play the Gonzaga and get destroyed, or Michigan State, then Gonzaga. And it's like, okay, there's something wrong with this team. The effort is not there. Like, and we were like Brandon Garrison. I still remember him at home at Rupp, him jerking him out because it's like, what are you doing? Like, where's the effort? Now Brandon Garrison is the old Brandon Garrison,
Yeah.
fighting, chippy. And it's not just him; it's everybody. So for me, the biggest thing that has impressed me is being able to control the locker room because I had questions. I was like, "Can you even control your guys?"
Yep.
And again, I wasn't jumping the gun. I was just seeing what I had seen, and talking about it. But now these guys are making the winning plays that we've talked about so much. They're going and doing the extra things that win ball games. So for me, ultimately, it's being able to get these guys to buy in to whatever system it is that he's utilizing right now, and to
Yep.
not only buy in a little bit, but buy in 100% and follow the game plan no matter what the score is. Because, a lot of teams continue, if they were to be down, I mean, it's hard to make a comeback. It is. But these guys understand this is not over. We just got to stay together, block out the outside noise. And that's something that, again, if you come to Kentucky, I mean, Mason, we've talked about it. You got to be
Oh,
able
yeah.
to block out the noise because the noise is heavy. When you're not winning, I mean, it's the worst that probably the worst that it can be. But when you're winning, it's the best of the best. And obviously, we think that it is the absolute best. So moving forward to Florida on Saturday, obviously, I think that they have the best front court in the nation. Talking about their three bigs, I don't have them all written down right now. Condon, what's the blonde-headed guy?
However you say it, however it
How?
is.
Yeah. And then
And
they
then
have the
Chinyalu.
dude who has the little chin, yeah, the dreads. They have the best front court in the nation. I really think that this is going to be a game where if we have any chance at all, we have got to make a lot of outside shots
I
because I
agree.
just don't see us controlling the paint. Because looking back at the Tennessee game, Mason, we outscored them in the paint 44-24. We outscored them by 20 points in the paint. And that's not like if I'm a Tennessee fan, I am livid about that because Tennessee that's their identity, is that
Well,
they're very physical.
that's what I was gonna say. Like, you remember last game in the first half, like they kept getting layup after layup after layup after layup down
Yeah.
in the paint, and it was like, I mean, I was texting over and
You
over. I
said
was
go
like,
zone, and he
please
finally went
go
zone.
zone. Yeah, and it changed the whole momentum of the game. And I don't know. I don't. I mean, I'd have to go back and watch and just look and see if we did anything different. But I mean, obviously, I'm sure that was a point of emphasis for Pope coming into this game. Was like, hey, they killed us inside last game, so let's try to make sure they don't do that again. And great job to us for trying to taking them out of their game. They did knock down some shots in the first half, but obviously it's Tennessee, right? That's not their identity. If they do that a whole game and end up beating us, you tip your cap, I think. But I do think
Uh,
that going into the Florida game though, like you said, it's gonna be a struggle trying to contain all three of those guys.
oh, absolutely. And our guys are completely built different than their guys.
Oh,
Malachi
Chinny,
Moreno, but Chandler, yeah, he's a beast. He
oh
is
my
like
goodness.
he's going to out physical you think, but Malachi Marino though has played very well, I think, and that's again in the second half we were getting so much more in the paint. We got Marino involved more, which again opens up so much for Colin Chandler,
Yeah,
Oway. It allows everybody to just play, just let it come to them instead of forcing something. But looking forward though, Florida is an absolutely big game. The odds, I don't even know what the spread is right now, if it's even out. But
it's probably not out yet.
I think if when we go there, I think these guys need to go in and have the mindset that, here's a great opportunity nationally for us to go steal one. Obviously, everybody, the experts, are going to pick Florida, which I would too. I would pick Florida right now. It's at
Yeah,
Florida. They're playing absolutely great basketball right now. They've got a great backcourt to go along with the best front court in the
yeah,
nation. But just go out there and play with nothing to lose. And if you win, you pick up one that you probably shouldn't have. But if you lose, it's not the end of the world. The one thing I do want, though, is I want to be competitive. I would like to see a competitive
I
game.
agree.
I don't want to go over there like the Alabama game and get destroyed by 15, 20 points because then it's like, oh, man, here we are again. However, though, if we do, it's not going to be the end of the world because then you're looking back, okay, we've won 8 of our last 10. Who do we play? I know our schedule, I don't know what you're looking up, but we have Florida. So then after that, we go, is it at Texas A&M?
No, we got Florida, and then we have Georgia at home, and then we go at Auburn, at South Carolina, Vandy at home, at A&M, Florida at home.
Okay.
Gauntlet.
So you're looking at it, and we if we got to win the Georgia at home, and then got to get South Carolina away. And then I think I think that Vandy game is one that we're like, okay, we should not have got embarrassed like that. Let's come out here. Looking at Texas A&M and Florida on the road, going to be tough. And then we have Florida again at home. Could be one that we pick up. But the team itself, looking for March now, let's talk a little bit of postseason after SEC. What now do you think is the ceiling for this team? Realistically, let's just say we have a decent matchup. Or is it still in the air? Like, what is the ceiling of this team?
I think that's so tough because, like we've talked about, like if we continue to keep getting down, especially in March, like let's say a team comes out and they're just shooting the lights out, like you just never know, right? Like it's going to be harder in March to be able to come back from being down 12, 14, 15 points, whatever it is that we get down. I do think that we can make a decent run depending on, once I see our bracket and what all that's looking like. But like I saw one the other day and I think it had us, I think like Nebraska was our 2 seed maybe. And I was like, man, I would love that. Like had us in the bottom part of the bracket. And I was like, I feel like we can beat Nebraska. So I think I'll have to see that. But I mean, I think after what I've seen from this point, the way we've played against some of these teams and beat some of these teams, I think my expectation is at least a Sweet 16 now. Now, if we get hot and we're knocking down shots, we're playing well, not digging ourselves holes, I think we could make an Elite Eight. Who knows? We get hot, maybe a Final Four. But I mean, I think we can play with anybody. I will say that right now. Like, I think this team just has the grit and the grind that we can go out there and hang with anybody. And who knows what can happen? I mean, we've won a lot of close games. Seems like we've gotten pretty good at being able to execute down the stretch. So that's good going into the postseason that we're having these close games and figuring out how to win these close games too.
And that's something I think a lot of for the viewers listening is that if you don't how important it is to get a good seeding in March, because, looking back, we could have very well been a 10 seed. At one point, that's what I thought we were going to be. But now you're looking at possibly, I think, let's just say we don't win the SEC outright. And let's say that we get a top 4 seed, a 3 or 4 seed, 2, 3 or 4 seed. We make it to at least the semifinals of the SEC tournament. Okay. Then I think you're looking at possibly a 5 seed, somewhere around there, which is so much better than a 10 seed.
Oh, yeah.
What was you going to say?
5 seed scares me, though, because, there's always those 5-12 upsets. And
yeah, it is. It is. But this team, though, Mason, that could be anywhere with this team, I think. I think that
I agree.
Any given night, we could get upset. But any given night, we also could be the team, like we mentioned, the North Carolina, the NC State team that just gets hot. And again, that's what it's so important for matchups in March. Like, it's not just like, okay, the best team from start to finish wins it. That's not really the case every single year. I mean, obviously you have teams who get to the Final Four, but you also have that one or two teams that make it to the Elite Eight or Final Four who, not that they don't have no business being there, but just got hot at the right time. Yep. And that could be us. I think, though, it's remarkable that we're sitting here right now talking about possibly winning the SEC outright in the regular season. I mean, like that is just, it blows my mind.
Yeah, because, I mean, 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were talking about possibly not even making the tournament.
Oh, we're making it, yeah. And once you win a couple of those big games, a lot of it just builds your confidence. And that's maybe something that this team just needed, was a little bit more confidence. Do you think that the team early, they couldn't figure it out? And again, it's a lot easier to sit here and sit back and talk about what was because of everything that was transpiring. But maybe we didn't really realize and understand how much these guys were having to readjust everything that was going on at the moment. I mean, you had Oweh who was in and out so much. You had the whole hype about Jaden Quainance. Was he going to play? When's he going to come back? Not to mention you have our starters who really were having to play different roles than they played before. So
Yeah.
I mean, so maybe it's just sometimes it takes a little bit of time, and maybe that's what Mark Pope knew at the time, but it sure didn't seem like it. It seemed like for the longest time he was just as confused as everybody else was. I mean, I don't think that there was no hiding that. I think he would admit that, like, he was definitely confused. But for him to completely change the outlook of this team and get everybody back in. Again, that was my biggest thing. I'm very, very impressed with Mark Pope and his whole coaching crew right now on that.
Absolutely. I
Uh,
agree.
well, as far as the recruiting goes, still the same. I've not heard any new news about any recruits. You heard anything?
Not a thing.
Do you think there's something going on that we don't know about under the radar? Or do you think that it's that let's just stay locked in for this season? And, but there's got to be guys like, I mean, you've seen Jason Hart going to all these Tyrone Stokes games. Like, obviously, they're trying to get him. But
Yeah.
do you think that there's something that they know that we don't know? Because I've heard from multiple people on shows and articles that nobody really knows much about, like, the coaches. Like, they kind of keep it in house, like, and whether that be good or bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, everything I've heard on Stokes is like, nobody really knows. It's kind of 50-50, right? Like, 50% may say, I'm here in Kansas. Other 50% may say, it's between Kentucky and Kansas. I mean, we're obviously pursuing him still, so that's a good sign in my eyes. I just hope that,
Yeah.
like you said, the coaching staff does like to keep things, close, tight knit. They don't like stuff getting out, which I guess that's a good thing. Especially after some of the stuff I heard about, coaches telling players to go back to Kentucky and saying they offered them this and they offered them that just to see what Kentucky would do. Um, but I'm really, really hoping with Pope, he's shown me that he has the ability to adapt and change, right? He's shown me that this season with coaching. Do it on the recruiting trail. If Tyron Stokes wants $5 million,
Right.
we don't have a single recruit. Go drop a bag on that man.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree
Because
100%.
I
Do
mean,
whatever
if you
do whatever you need to do to get him here.
right, because you look at it, I mean, we're going to be in the same boat next year that we have been the last 2 years, building a team off the transfer portal. And who knows what type of guys are even going to be available. I mean, there's going to be some good guys in the portal, but I don't think any of them are going to be on Tyron Stokes' level. Like, he's pretty much the number one pick, and that's already locked up for next season. Go get that man. Drop him
Yeah.
back on him.
Do you think that us winning now plays into effect of if he on his decision? We've
I
talked a
think it.
little bit about that. I know,
I think it does because I mean, you look back at the beginning of the season. And if it would have continued down that path, I mean, what superstar is going to want to come here when that program is just kind of on a downhill trend, right? Like, fan base isn't happy. Looked like a lot of the players weren't happy. They weren't playing well. Pope doesn't really seem happy, but now we've started to win. The morale's back up. Guys look like they're having fun. Pope's enjoying himself again. So yeah, I mean, I think us winning definitely plays a factor into that.
I do too. And at the end of the day, we've said it before. This is Kentucky. Not seen. I keep saying that. I heard. It was either that Field of 68 podcast or
Yeah.
it was it was some SEC. It may have been just reporters in the SEC. Anyways, there was something that come out that they like, what's the most valuable and high job that you would want in the SEC? They done a ranking.
Yeah, it was.
What was
I
it?
seen a video of Jeff Goodman talking about it.
And it was Kentucky. Number one was Kentucky.
Yep.
And then they had number 2, I think, was Texas. It was weird. It was like Texas, Florida, um, there was some, I forgot what the other school. It was very close, but Kentucky, though, they said it wasn't even close. Like, there was a big
Yeah.
drop off from one, and then there was a tight squeeze of like 2 to 5. But again, we're Kentucky, like that we are a basketball school. Like, that's what we are known for. Now, obviously, we have Stein time coming in, making a lot of noise right now. Ultimately, we don't want to be just a basketball school. We want to be everything school. However, though, that's just the history, the program itself, and that's ultimately, hopefully, what can maybe draw Tyrone Stokes. He's like, okay, I want to be a Wildcat. I want to come play for the greatest tradition in college basketball, and that's what they always. If anybody's ever been to a Kentucky game, that's what the PA announcer always says, or always says the greatest tradition in college basketball. I hope Caleb Holland is listening, because he's like, I don't consider y'all the greatest. Well, we've got you both times. Now, one thing I will say is that I was telling a guy today at church that, you know, it reminds me so much of last season. Is I wouldn't be surprised if we catch them in the SEC tournament and they beat us.
Yeah.
It's so hard to beat a team 3 times. It is. And obviously, then it comes into what would you rather lose 2 times and have the postseason success? Depending on if it's March Madness or if it's just the SEC tournament, that's another topic for another time. However,
Yeah.
though, this team has figured it out. What are your closing thoughts on tonight with a huge win? We're going to drop this episode for you all because we were excited. It was a great win. But any closing comments, Mason, on just this Kentucky team moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, great win. And this Kentucky team, they just continue to show that grit, that fight. They don't ever. I mean, they faced adversity so many times this season, early on, and it seemed like they could have
And
crumbled,
not
they
just
could have
in
folded.
games. I think they've not just games. I mean, catch up, but the adversity you're talking about is just like, it's not just the basketball games; it's everything.
Yeah, I mean the fan base, the outside noise, the stuff we heard about in the locker room, like they face so much adversity. They continue to face adversity in games, but they continue to just fight and battle. And that's we've talked about it before. Like we understand, like, yes, we're Kentucky fans, but we understand we can't win every game. We can't win it every year. But we just want a team that's going to go out there. They're going to
Yeah.
play hard, act like they want to be there, and that's what we're seeing from this team. Like they're not giving up, and I think we got a tough little stretch coming up here. But if you would have told me through this first stretch here of Vandy, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Tennessee that we were going to be 3-1 through this stretch, I would have taken it without a doubt.
Oh, absolutely. And like you said, it's playing hard. That's always one, and that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing guys play for one another, and ultimately, that's what it takes to win big games. Uh, well, hey, thanks for joining us. This has been another episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. As always, go Cats.
Go Cats.
That's a wrap for this episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Also, be on the lookout for our social media pages and be sure to follow them. We've got plenty more stories, insights, and conversations coming your way. And if you really loved it, make sure to share it with a friend. From the hills to the hollers, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep that Kentucky spirit strong.